How's it going, everyone? This is Faupel. Welcome back to the channel. Continuing on the artist series, I have with me Nives Stacherl from Darkstrand. Say hi, Nives.
Hello.
Darkstrand initial lineup was formed in 2019 after a combination of releases, member shakeups, and recording a music video. They're now working on an extended length album, which will include additional vocalist and an extended production team. How you
Yeah,
doing, Knives?
I'm doing quite fine today. Yeah, I hope
That's
you're
good.
doing well too.
I'm doing all right. Excited to
That's nice.
excited to have you on for an interview.
Yeah,
All right, so let's get some initial unpleasantness out of the way. Darkstrand's official lineup was started in 2019, but even just last year, you had a lineup shakeup where you had to depart not with one, but two members, if I have that correct.
yeah, that's
Um,
right.
okay, so it's been rumored that you yourself are able to crank out, like you have a huge creative output and you can crank out anywhere from 100 songs a year.
Yeah.
I know the positions were filled in your band pretty quickly, but what does that do to momentum? Because it seems like in 2022 and even early 2023, you already have some releases. But what does member shakeups, what do member departures do to the momentum that you have going in a band?
Um, it's I'd say there's a difference between the live shows we play. Obviously, the when we depart with some people who play a big role in our life settings, I'd say um, it's it's definitely it stops the momentum. We had to turn down some offers for some cool shows, but with with writing songs, I wouldn't say it plays too big of a role. I just usually I sit down for myself and I just write the songs or the demos, and once I finish the demo, I send it out to the guys. Um, and usually we don't have to change too much. It's
All right.
just some small editing, but most of the songs we're really happy with.
Okay. From the time of the member's departure, you mentioned having to turn down some live shows. How long was it before you were able to sort of kick it back up into high gear? How long were you out of commission?
Um, we actually had to turn down a show for tomorrow.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, but we hope to be back playing some gigs with May. We've got
Where?
a new crucial member, my younger brother.
Uh-huh.
He will take the role of the keyboarder, and he'll also do percussion and backing vocals.
Awesome. That's cool. Getting
Yeah,
family involved. That's really cool.
yeah.
What goes into the decision making of having to get rid of not just one but two members? Obviously, there's situations where there's like toxicity in the band, and I've dealt with some of that myself. But what
Yeah.
do you have to consider before really making the decision to go forward with that?
Um, we've got some big plans with future releases, with, as you said, an extended length album, and maybe even releasing a novel. And with such huge ideas, it's just, I mean, they were on the boat for some part. I'd say they like the ideas, and they like the idea of releasing something huge, something that might have an impact on the scene. But they didn't do what they had to do. They didn't practice much. They postponed or just didn't come for recording sessions.
Yeah.
And that's just not how that would work if you're trying to be professional.
Okay. All right. So a theme that's kind of been looming around your social media pages and some of your songs and is present in at least the lyrics or maybe just the description of one of your most recent music video. Tell me about Watchers Are Everywhere.
Yeah, it's cool you found that. We are trying to really drop that sentence everywhere
Yeah,
with every release. It's basically these watchers. I don't want to go into too much detail here.
sure. Okay.
Um, they are the main characters of the concept, the storyline with the upcoming extended length album. So they play a huge role. There will be other characters too, but those watchers just play such an important role that we decided to make it our main theme, basically.
Awesome. That's cool to have some central characters and some things that we'll be revisiting throughout the
Yeah,
album. One of the things that was said to have piqued the interest of Soren of A Memory Misread, who features vocals in the upcoming album, is
yeah.
that he's a sucker for concept albums, and he lists a few. He said, I like how everything comes together and how the final product is greater than the sum of its parts. Um,
Yeah.
with short form with short form content becoming more and more prevalent and having more and more success, like TikTok and Reels on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. Do you
Mhm.
think there's still a place for concept albums?
That's a good question, actually. We've been thinking about this a lot. Most bands nowadays play the singles game,
Yeah,
especially in our local scene. They just release like 5 singles over the year and then make it onto a singles collection or something. Uh, and while that definitely makes new listeners, I guess to some extent it's not the most interesting thing for the fans that already are into your band.
yeah,
So the we will also play the singles game. We won't just drop the album with one big boom. We will split it up with some singles, some merch. We're trying to do a huge video shoot soon.
okay.
While we also play that singles game, we also want to give the fans that stay with us something to dig deeper into. Yeah,
That's really cool. Okay,
yeah,
so a lot of thought has gone into deciding whether to play the singles game, just play the singles game, or whether this concept album is worth it. And obviously, it is to
yeah,
you. So
yeah. It
about
definitely is.
that's cool. About the upcoming album, um, you said you're trying to. Okay, so I believe your words were the goal is to create an album that surpasses genre boundaries,
Yeah.
has a captivating storyline and larger than life production. So I agree with, I'm fully on board with those last two. But I wanted to ask you about surpassing genre boundaries. I'm not trying to oversimplify what you're doing, but what is the goal of surpassing genre boundaries? Is it to make an album that is accessible to a wide range of listeners, or is it something that can't be combined into a single genre label?
I think it's the latter one. For myself, I love so many different genres, so many different artists, and I also write in so many different styles. I don't just want to be forced. I mean, if anyone, it would be me who's forcing myself into something, but I don't
Sure.
want to be forced into that one genre and I always have to do something similar. There's only so much you can do. So I've started blending stuff more and more. For example, with classical sounding, romantic era harmonies and melodies.
Yeah, I saw some Chopin in your inspiration list. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to do with instrumentation. We've always been big on backing tracks, anyways, live.
Okay.
We've never had a drummer.
All
I
right.
mean, we have someone now, but she's still in the practice. Uh, yeah. And so we've always played our shows with drums as backing tracks, but we also, I guess that was what made us think, yeah, we can also do other stuff with backing tracks. We can put post-production effects, we can put uh, backing vocals, we can put synthesizers, and this also translated to our writing process where we thought, can we add this, um, can we add another layer to this song, or would it be impossible to pull off live? But because of the backing tracks that we have anyways, we said, okay, let's just not give so much thought about live playability.
Yeah.
There's there's always a way, and we just, yeah, that's why we, for example, we layer so many synths. With the newest release with Cenotaph, there's a synthesizer running an octave above and one running an octave below the guitars,
Right.
just doing the exact same thing. And it's blended in just for, I guess, it gives it a unique, crisp sound.
Awesome. So, aside from the Silent Planet song, what's the inspiration behind the name Darkstrand?
The Silent Planet song definitely played a huge role. I guess it was the song that really made me fall in love with them, and they are still my favorite band
All right.
as of today. I also just I like the idea of having one word that when you Google it or when you search it up in the internet, you can't find too much stuff. All you find is the Silent Planet song
Yeah.
and maybe one or two other articles, and then it's all us.
All right.
So
So
that was the idea.
there was some strategy to it. You wanted to make sure that you filled up the pages.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. That's really cool.
Yeah,
One thing I noticed is about the new album is that the mixing and mastering is going to be handled by Aviana producer Ludwig uh
yeah.
Otorsson. I'm sorry about the name, but as recently as last year, you were working as recently as Unfinished Fracture. You were working with Christoph of the band Clariol to for the mixing of some projects. I understand that throughout a career you work with different engineers, but what sort of goes into that process? How do you decide who works on what project?
With Christoph, he's obviously played a huge role, as he's my father.
Yeah.
I don't know if he thinks of him that way, but we think of him as some sort of a mentor.
Yep.
He taught us so much, and we always use the practice room he built, and he taught me everything about Pro Tools and everything about recording and mixing, and he was the one who inspired me to pick up a guitar. But we realized at some point that while he played a huge role in our past, and I guess to some point where we are right now,
Yep.
but looking forward, we don't always agree on everything.
Okay.
He prefers, to just name an example, he prefers rather natural sounding drums. He prefers real amps over the amp simulations. And while we don't hate that stuff, we just think that it's not about something that once was state of the art. It's about what sounds the best.
Okay.
And we found that Ludwig, the producer for Aviana, just fits our style the best. And I messaged him and sent him some demos, and he loved what he heard. So we'll work with him in the future, at least for the next release, and what happens after. is still open.
Awesome. Cool. It's very good and decisive decision making. So, speaking a lot about Christoph, you grew up in a fairly unique situation. Where Christoph, as your father, you were surrounded by music. He mentioned that he owned a studio that specialized in rock and metal, and even as I
Yeah,
believe operates in a band currently.
yeah,
What
exactly.
what is the difference between influence and inspiration, and how do you draw the line?
That's a really tough question. I hope I can find a good answer. I'd say influence just that's just me simplifying it, but it's just that influence maybe you can hear it if you're influenced by a band.
Okay.
While maybe another band inspired you to become a musician, but you don't have any similarities with them. For example, NF, the rapper,
Yep.
he inspired me to do more vocals myself, and he played a huge role in me picking up the role as a frontman for now. But it doesn't really show in our sound, so I'd say he just inspired me. He didn't influence me and how I sound.
Let's talk a bit more about the new album. Tell me a bit more about it. Who's on the album first off, and then how did you go about picking these people that you decided to include in both the studio lineup and the vocalists that you're going to feature on there?
The vocalist, I guess he'll do the biggest part. He'll play the biggest part in the vocals of the album. He's Sergey from Eradicate Me. I've been friends with him for a few years now. I think in January of 2019, he sent me some of his songs, and I instantly fell in love with his voice, the way he can portray so much emotion with just screams. But obviously, it's not just screams. I think screams portray a ton of emotion, but only if pulled off correctly, which he is super good at. And I contacted him while we were in the process of um, letting go of our prior vocalist.
Right.
He liked the idea of being in this band, playing a role in also in helping me portray the emotions I feel when writing a song. He helps me with that too. Then we also chose Soren from A Memory Misread. He's more local. He sings in a more local band from Vienna.
Okay.
I think another vocalist from another local band posted a song of theirs, and I heard his voice, and I just my mind was blown.
All right. Cool.
He he also can portray so much emotion with his voice, which is really important to me. I don't just want the songs to be super angry and fast and brutal. When I write about a certain topic, maybe I want them to sound like they're in panic or like they barely got any power left. It's really about what the song tries to portray, and these two guys are great at that. Um, then there's Felix from One Less Glance. He'll also help us a ton with the vocal recordings and also with the arrangements. He's been on one track we released about a year ago. He's also a good friend of mine, and then there's obviously this idea of featuring so many artists because we thought we wanna feature a vocalist on every song or every song that's not released as a single.
Sure.
We're still arguing about that.
Okay. So there's still a lot that's going into this album then. That's
Yeah,
that's that's cool. At what point do you have to decide just that uh there's a saying that art is never really finished, just
yeah,
abandoned. What how do you decide even just the process of getting into a song, whether to feature a vocalist or whether you said these are decisions you're still coming to. When do you decide
yeah.
to stop in the decision making and just go a certain direction?
It's different from song to song.
Okay,
I can't say it's the same for every song. Sometimes I write a song with a specific vocalist in mind, and if it's not one of the vocalists I just told you about, obviously we have to feature said vocalist.
right,
With some people I want to feature, it's just, for example, it's Garrett from Silent Planet.
yeah,
I've been talking to him for some time, and he's just played such a huge role in who I've become as a musician,
sure,
as a lyricist. I just, I've actually talked about this with some friends today. I don't know what song I want to feature him on
right,
yet because I want to choose one that I'm not just happy with in the moment. I also want to be happy with him being on this song going forward in a few years. Maybe looking back, I want to say, yeah, I'm proud with what I've done and with I'm happy with what he has done.
that's really awesome. I didn't know that you were in talks with the band that sort of was the inspiration for the name itself. And I think
Yeah.
that's really awesome. You mentioned someone who was already a huge inspiration to the musician you've become. Was there ever any initial hesitation as to whether you should reach out to him?
There was a ton of hesitation. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if I was scared of rejection
Yeah.
in some way. I was scared of maybe him saying he doesn't have time or he doesn't want to, or
Sure.
maybe even him not answering. But when I met him at the concert a few weeks ago, he was so open and so happy to see me. Even though he has never seen me, he seemed
Right.
like he just met an old friend again. I've been really starstruck, but it just was so natural talking to him. And we just ended up exchanging emails.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say too much,
Okay. Yeah, sure. No
um,
problem.
but yeah, that's where we are at currently. Yeah.
That's really cool. What do you obviously there's a lot going into this next album, but what is probably something that what really gets you excited about anything regarding the next album?
There's this one thing we've been planning. We want to do an album release airing at a local cinema,
Oh wow. Okay.
and we'll work out. It's nearly a movie what we want to make.
Sure.
I mean, it's still music videos, but it has this concept that goes from the start to the end of the album. And we want to air this in a local cinema as the release show, more or less, with all our friends. And we want to invite people who inspired us, who played a huge role.
That's really cool. And as for the video goes, are you going to be working with the same people? Are you going to be working with I believe the last one was with Josef Pitzman?
Yeah, we've talked to him, but with a lot going on, we kind of forgot to make a new date
Okay.
for when we want to talk again about our ideas. We want to work with him. We also want to work with a few other people.
Hmm.
I have a bunch of friends who do some sort of videography.
Yeah.
And I want this to be not just one person working on it or a small group. I want this to be a huge collaboration of artists who can express themselves in this project.
Awesome. That's really cool to be able to have more than just be able to feature a few people on it. A lot of people who care about the project, seemingly like you do. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, Nives, I appreciate you joining me on an interview today. Believe it or not,
Thank you so much.
it has been just about our time. So, is there anything you want to wrap up with? Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, of course, you can go listen to our first track we released with Sergey. It's called Cenotaph. And he's currently also recording vocals for the next track. It's called Presence, and it will hopefully drop soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Nives. Wish you the best. Definitely will be checking out the next album. We'll see
Thank
you.
you.